They left Germany when they saw that the mood in Germany was shifting very quickly to something they didn't like. So their boys came to America already at a fairly good age and joined the United States Navy to support the war effort. They were identical twins. This is Julius and Wilbur Pieper. They were both radio men in LST 523, Landing Ship Tank 523. The parents had asked for an exception to Navy policy that would allow both sons to serve on the same ship. There was a policy in the Navy as well as in the Army that brothers could serve in the same units, divisions, but not in the same regiments. In the Navy, brothers could serve in the same naval organization, but not on the same ships. The Pieper brothers, through a senator, requested that their exception be made. Their sons were identical twins who'd never been separated in their life. The parents said that they would much rather the boys serve and die together than they be separated. So they're going to be allowed to serve together. They're both radio men on the same landing ship tank. They take part in the landings on the 6th of June. From that point on, they're making ferry runs back and forth to England, bringing back wounded, bringing war equipment. That ship's operating 24 hours a day. On the 19th of June, they make it into Grand Calmazie, which is right on the other side of Pointe du Hoc, not very far from here. Keep in mind that on the 19th of June, the shipping lanes are still full of mines. What we've done is we've cleared gaps, and we've marked those gaps, and the boat captains know where those gaps are, and they're moving in and out in those gaps. We've anchored large moving magnetic bombs to the ocean floor. The captain of this ship turns his ship around after delivering 14 tanks to Grand Calmazie. Is going to head back to England and sees that there's dozens of ships headed his way, so he goes as far right as possible into the lane, not knowing that the 19th of June is a very stormy day. We lost our Mulberry Bridge on the 19th of June, and one of the mines that we had attached to the ocean floor has now come into the shipping lane. The boat will hit it, it will be split in two. Almost 150 men will die on that boat, to include the two Pieper brothers. Wilbur Pieper is found 3 days later as his body washes ashore. Julius is never found, so he's reported as missing in action. His name is on our wall of the missing once the cemetery is constructed. 3 years ago, a young high school student from Cranston, Nebraska is doing a history project on World War II and chooses the two Pieper brothers for her hometown to do the project on. Being 16 years old, she Googles everything possible. Pieper, LST 523, Grand Calmazie, and she gets a hit on a report done in 1965 by a French steel salvage company who did a dive on the LST to try to cut it up, bring it afloat, and sell the steel. They reported a body in the radio room. That was reported through the U.S. Embassy, picked up by the Navy, sent to a lab that we had in Belgium to try to identify it, and we're unable to identify that body. It is buried in Belgium as an unknown. She finds this report. It's written in French. She brings it to her teacher. French teacher says they found a body in LST 523 in the radio room. Both Julius and Wilbur were the only two radio men on that boat. She contacts the Navy and asks if the unknown in Belgium could be Julius Pieper. I'm sure the Navy felt like they had an egg on their face. The body was disinterred, sent to North Dakota to a DNA lab, and within 72 hours positively identified as Julius Pieper. Their family is given the very same option families were given after the war. Their only remaining sister decides to have Wilbur and Julius buried here, because Wilbur was buried here, side by side. So we will move Wilbur in April, and on the 19th of June, 74 years after his death, Julius will be buried by the U.S. Navy under full military honors with his nieces in attendance and the high school student, because the sister died 10 days prior. When we do find an unknown, the families are given the very same option that families were given after World War II. Our problem is very few families made the decision to leave their loved ones here because they simply didn't know. That is to say that even the Navy didn't know they had an option, and neither did the Army. Only 3 days ago did we sign a contract with the Navy that when this happens, the ABMC needs to have contact with that family and let them know that our cemeteries are options. That's why they chose it. And as a matter of fact, in August of this coming year, we will be burying another unknown right here at Normandy. This is a process that continues. We have 307 unknowns here. We disinterred 2 last night. That's 13 in the last 2 years. And sent them back for DNA analysis. When we disinter a body, it's not because we just feel we've got time. There has to be something. Our quote is, there's a better chance than not that this certain, so we call it the 51% rule. If we're 51% positive with our research, we will request a disinterment. Disinterments are kind of funny because the bodies don't belong to us. Because people ask us all the time, why don't you just disinter them all? The problem is the bodies don't belong to us. We are caretakers of these bodies for families back home. We can't decide on our own to disinter a body without family permission. All you need is one family out of those 307 to say we don't want it, and you can't disinter anyone. So we have to have a reasonably fair chance with our research to determine who the soldier is, and then go contact a family member and request the permission to disinter and DNA. If they refuse either, we're not going to disinter. We need DNA in order to disinter today. And so the process continues. We're at 307 unknown now. We added that rosette last year. We're going to add another rosette this summer. We're still waiting for we're going to add another rosette in a couple weeks. We're still waiting for that family to make a decision.